Welcome to the Note Nuggets podcast, where you can learn how to become the bank, build wealth, and accumulate streams of income perfect for your savings or IRAs. You'll hear from industry experts, seasoned veterans, and everyday investors. Our goal is to teach you how to invest in notes, one nugget of knowledge at a time. Here's your host, Kevin Galang.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Note Nuggets podcast. Today we're going to talk about 401ks, more specifically how I was able to turn my 401k into the bank. So before I learned about note investing in real estate, the only retirement vehicle I knew was a 401k, like many of you who work a 9-to-5, or if you work a government job, it's a thrift savings plan. And even in my first job, I had no idea when I allocated a percent of my paycheck to auto deposit into my Fidelity 401k. However, I was advised that I max that out and take advantage of the company match because it was quote-unquote free money. And I ignorantly obliged and was able to save up around $75K, including the company match and the interest it was able to earn. Not quite the $18,000 a year that I was supposed to contribute in those 5 years, but it's a start. And it's a nice chunk of change that I was able to start with. And after stumbling onto real estate investing, thanks to my girlfriend, I wanted to know what I could do with my hard-earned money. As it turns out, it wasn't really my money. I learned the hard way that the 401k system really wants you to keep your money in that 401k. Why that is a whole separate podcast. When I got a new job, the second job that I had, it didn't have a 401k, so my 401k was still with Fidelity through my previous employer. Even though I wanted to use that 401k as a down payment on a property, I wasn't allowed to. Because I had moved on to a new job, I was no longer on my previous employer's payroll. Therefore, I no longer had access to my money. Again, it wasn't really my money. Imagine how frustrating that is. When I called to learn more, they told me I had 3 options. Withdraw my money completely and pay the early withdrawal penalty, wait till my current company gets a 401k, or get a new job with a 401k. After that call, I was furious, annoyed, and frustrated, learning and ultimately realizing, again, that my money wasn't my money. Fast forward a year later, in 2018, when I attended a cash flow game meetup at a self-directed IRA custodian in the Tampa Bay area. And this is where I learned about this too good to be true investment vehicle called a self-directed IRA. Don't forget to check out the previous episode on the precise definition of what a self-directed IRA is from an expert. And you can check that out at notenuggets.com/SDIRA-definition. When I learned that I could invest in anything except life insurance and collectibles and grow my money tax-free, I was equal parts flabbergasted and frustrated. I left that meetup determined to open an account. So I called the IRA custodian and explained my situation. They were the ones that informed me that I could perform what is called a rollover, where I convert my 401k into a self-directed IRA. And because my 401k was a Roth, I got lucky with that. I didn't have to pay any taxes when I rolled it over. Believe it or not, when I spoke to Fidelity, they had no idea what a self-directed IRA was. Once I rolled my money over, I started learning about notes and different ways to make a passive yet secured return on my money. And this is where performing notes come into my story. My 401k turned into the bank through my self-directed IRA. After some networking, I was able to build relationships with other investors who were in need of some capital. I had capital just sitting in my IRA waiting to make a return. I could have created an unsecured note and lent them the money out of my IRA for a return, but that doesn't fit my risk profile as an investor. And what happens if they decide not to pay me back? How am I protected? I really wouldn't be. And that's why I needed to secure my money through assets. For example, let's talk about 2 of my notes. They are secured by real estate, and they are second position mortgages, meaning they're behind the first mortgage, which is the original financing on the property. And just like buying a performing note, I performed proper due diligence on the property. Here's what I did. I used Google Maps to get a street view of the property, of what it looked like. I had a BPO done to verify the exterior condition of the property and get an idea of the value of the property. Ultimately, I want to be as protected as possible when I'm lending my money out. I performed a full title search for a couple of reasons. One was to verify that the current owner was in fact the current owner. It sounds silly and common sense, but You need to trust but verify, especially if you're using your hard-earned money to be a lender and become the bank. Think about the way the banks operate. They do an entire background check on you. They look at your credit report. They do all of these things. They have strict criteria before they decide to even lend you money. You should apply that if you are going to lend money out and create some notes on your own behalf. I also performed a full title search to understand if I was in fact the second lien. Are there any other liens before me? Is there really only one first lien? Maybe there is a construction lien. All of those things needed to be verified through a title report. That way I knew that I was in fact the junior lien right behind the first. I even called the county to understand if the taxes were paid, which luckily for me they were. And if you ever see that there are taxes due on that, ask the seller of the note or the borrower. I say, hey, are these taxes going to get paid? The reason that's important is because tax liens are going to take precedent over first position if they are unpaid. I did research on the borrower. I used Google to figure out what I could find, Facebook, LinkedIn. I did whatever I could on the internet to figure out as much information as I could about the borrower. Luckily for me, the property was priced to have over $300,000 in equity, while I was loaning out $55,000. So I was comfortable with that amount of equity being in second position. After all, if the borrower didn't pay for whatever reason, I, as the second mortgage, could foreclose on the borrower, take back that property, sell it, pay off the first mortgage, and then pocket the difference. So that $300,000 equity minus my initial investment, I'd have over $200,000 of tax-free profit in my self-directed IRA. But of course, I'm hoping the borrower does continue to pay. As far as the terms of the note, it was 8% interest only for 10 years. This means the borrower will pay 8% on $55,000 annually for 10 years. Then on the 10th year, they pay back the principal investment. The typical loans and mortgages that you see are amortized, but as a lender, you can, if you're being a private lender, you can set terms that are favorable for you, or you can come to terms that work for both parties, things of that nature, because you are the bank. And all of this, by the way, is tax-free, as I mentioned earlier, because my self-directed IRA is a Roth. Now to recap, you can be a note investor by being the bank and originating a loan. You can also protect yourself by securing it with real estate. And as the bank, you can negotiate the terms as they fit your risk profile and investor identity. Lastly, if you have a 401k and you want to turn that into a self-directed IRA, make sure you ask your 401k custodian if they have an in-service rollover, meaning you are still working at that company that still offers a 401k, and then you are able to take some of that money and then turn it into a self-directed IRA. Ask whoever your custodian is if they have that option available for you. Don't forget to check out the show notes at notenuggets.com/401k to sign up and subscribe and to get a 3 bullet point recap of the episode. Well, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Note Nuggets podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get access to additional weekly value nuggets and get notified with episode updates. To subscribe, all you have to do is head over to subscribe.notenuggets.com. If you have any questions about this episode or note investing, book a time on Kevin's calendar at contact.notenuggets.com. We'll see you next week with another note nugget to add to your tool belt.